Welcome to the Grow with Joe podcast. Joe Bright here to support you in becoming your most authentic and confident self. Here we will learn ways to feel sexy in our skin, feel loud and proud in your honest expression, and finding empowerment and setting stern but fair boundaries in your life. Don't forget, you are the best. Thanks for tuning in. Nelson. I'm so excited to talk with you. Me and Nelson have been buddies since high school, and we are now reconnecting. I saw you on Instagram, and I saw that you were getting really passionate and well-informed about anxiety and what it is, and I kind of heard a little bit about your story on your Instagram, and you've actually dedicated an Instagram page to talking about anxiety and relief of OCD and anxiety, right?
Yep, that's correct. Yeah, OCD and anxiety, kind of the name of the game when it comes to my page. And
so I want to know your story and kind of what triggered all of this, and just get into, let's hear your story.
Cool. Okay, well, yeah, let's jump in. Basically, when it comes to my story, I ended up going on a mission for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and so I was 19, and I went out to the MTC, basically where you go and get trained on language and what you're going to be teaching. And while I was out there, basically what happened was I ended up having a random panic attack one day, and this panic attack basically sent my body into just like an extended period of anxiety, and I had no idea what was going on. At the time, I wouldn't even have told you that I had anxiety. I remember there was someone who actually asked me. He pulled me aside and he's like, "Hey, have you ever experienced anxiety? Like, that kind of sounds like what you're experiencing right now." And I said, "No, like that's nothing that I've ever had. That's not something I identify with." And so basically I ended up leaving. I went out to the Philippines. That's where I was assigned. And I made it a month before my mental health just tanked. So I just went downhill so fast and ended up being basically a mess. Like I was trying to figure out so much of what had happened to me, and I just didn't know. And I think that's part of what was really driving the anxiety, was actually trying to figure out what had caused it initially.
Right.
And so I was just spinning my wheels, and all of it was rumination in my head. And that's what really took me deeper and deeper into the hole initially, was just spinning my wheels on how did I get here? You know, what's causing this? Why am I having these feelings, basically? And I had no idea what it was. So I was just catastrophizing it.
So you were on your mission, and like at what point did you first feel this anxiety that you have never experienced before? Like, did you wake up with it? Or like what situation were you in exactly? Because you're like, what is this? Like, what is this feeling?
Yeah, so the first thing, or I'd say the first time I really felt it was that initial panic attack, and it just came out of the blue. Like, it just hit all of a sudden, and I felt like I was having a heart attack. Like, I had no idea what was going on. I started, like, struggling to breathe. I kind of buckled over and was just like, oh my gosh, is this it? Like, do I need to go to the hospital?
But what was the situation? Like, what were you doing? Exactly. Like, I want to know exactly where you were and what you were doing.
So I was just down in the MTC, and I was just going about my day, really, and I'm trying to remember exactly what it was. I mean, I had basically just forgotten something, like, and that's all it was. So there wasn't, like, some huge meteor strike or anything like that caused it. Whoa.
That's interesting because I just wanted to know, because I'm like, what did trigger this anxiety? And, you know, like our ancestors, they were getting anxiety because they were being chased by a bear or a boar, or they're getting chased by, you know, other people. But it's like, why are we getting it? And yeah, you're right. I think we do get anxiety, even just thinking about anxiety, of like, why is this happening? This feeling of my heart's racing. I can't catch my breath. I feel like tunnel vision darkness almost, right?
Yeah. Oh, 100%. And that's what's so interesting about it is, yeah, like you have, you know, prehistoric people who they're struggling with anxiety because they're trying to put food on the table and that kind of a thing. They're running from, you know, scary animals. We don't deal with that. But I think so much of what we deal with now, I wouldn't say it causes anxiety, but we're kind of the ones who, like, we're programmed to look for danger still.
Right.
And now it's just a different form.
Right.
Right? It's work. It's, what do other people think of me? And all these other things that we're actually trying to control that we can't really control.
Absolutely.
And that's so much of what my own anxiety came from. And it took a long time to learn that.
So anxiety comes from control, and our environment has so much stimulation with social media, making sure we're being accepted in society. Maybe anxiety can come from suppressed emotions and suppressed traumas that have happened to us. And maybe we have this pressure in society to be perfect, to look perfect, especially here in Utah. It's definitely like a cultural thing where everyone looks like they've stepped out of, Park City magazine, and everyone's freaking perfect and everything's perfect. And maybe it's trying to hold that image. And so it's creating anxiety because, it could be for lots of different reasons. Like, it's crazy. So what have you found that helps you kind of relieve this? How are you looking at it differently? Like, let's kind of go through the stages of what you've learned throughout your journey of experiencing this thing we call anxiety.
So I'd say first it's really helpful to if we can get more specific on where it's coming from, because there are all these things in the world that we can put labels on and say, oh, it's coming from this, it's coming from my job, it's coming from, maybe I'm struggling with a relationship, something like that. Things aren't going exactly how I planned. But what it really boils down to is our relationship with uncertainty. And so basically how we're perceiving, kind of back to that control sentiment, how we're perceiving our own control and what we can control in the world. So if I think I can control other people's behavior, I can control other people's emotions. If I can even control, the thoughts popping into my head, the emotions that I'm experiencing, if I think I have total control over all these things, I'm going to experience anxiety. And so getting really specific about that is so helpful, because then that unlocks basically the key to getting over it, because then you can change your relationship with those things. And when it comes to whether it's, thoughts, feelings, other people's opinions of you, or just other people's behavior, you can recognize where your boundary of control is. And there's so much we can't control. And when we try to control those things, basically, that's what really teaches our brain to go into panic mode when they aren't going our way, because that control isn't panning out. And all of a sudden, all those things are perceived as threats.
Holy crap. And there's so much we can't control, but why do we try to control so much? Because we want to feel safe?
That's what I was just going to say. It's because we want to feel safe. And so much of anxiety is about that. It's that same prehistoric mechanism in our head that protected us from wild animals and those kind of things. And so we're programmed to look for those things. And the problem is, I think in our society now, and just in general, it's so easy to get caught up trying to ensure we're safe in all these different ways. And we're taught that we should be safe and we should be able to control all these things.
That's kind of the toxicity of it, though, right?
Oh, 100%.
Because the ego, our parents grew up teaching us these things, but it's like now in this day and age, we're doing all this healing from, we're having our parents who have gone through their traumas parent us, and if they haven't done their own healing and their own work, then they're teaching us how they had to fend for themselves and have all these control mechanisms. But we're in this generation now where it's like we are the ones doing the healing, because it's getting worse with more of the social medias, with just all the stimulation that we have, and everything's coming so fast and easy. It's almost propelling the idea that we do have control, but we really don't. Like, what do we actually have control of?
I love how you said that, just how there's this perception of control.
But it's not even real.
But it's not real. That's exactly what I was getting to. Yeah, it's not real. And really, when it comes to what we have control over, we basically have control over the decisions and the actions that we are taking moment by moment. And that's just about it. And really, one area where it's really important to kind of identify where our boundaries of control are, especially when it comes to in our head, is the difference between thoughts that just pop into your head and then thinking. Because I think some people will basically adamantly say, you know, you should have 100% control over all the thoughts that are entering your head. But not true. But then also you don't want to go all the way to the other side where it's like, I have zero control over what's going on in my head. So what I like to do is I separate it into two different buckets, basically. And you've got thoughts that pop into your head, and that's like basically if you're walking down the street and someone yells something at you, like you have no control over that situation. If a thought pops into your head, like it just is there. It's like if I see, like right now I'm looking out a window and there's a red sign, and basically my brain is going to process that and create judgments and things that it's just going to throw at me. It's like, this might be a relevant thing to think about right now. So it throws that at me. Right. And so I don't necessarily have control over that initial thought that pops into my head, but I do have control over what I do with it. So if I have a thought about basically, like, what would be a good example? Maybe I'm really worried about how someone's perceiving a text that I just sent or something like that, right? I could have a thought that's like, oh, man, they're taking forever to reply. This means that, you know, they don't like me. They're judging me in this way, whatever. And so I might not have total control over my brain throwing that initial thought at me. But what I do have control over is whether or not I go down that rabbit hole and basically buy into what that thought just told me. So I can basically take a step back if I want to and say, you know what, I don't need to engage with this. I don't need to like spin my wheels on this and go down this hole of saying, yeah, you know what, it's true. They probably are really upset. And this means this about me. This means, you know, I am subhuman or subpar in this way. You do have a choice when it comes to that. You always have a choice of what you're going to do with your thinking after those thoughts pop in.
All right, you guys, quick break to talk about one of my favorite brands here local in Utah, Balance of Nature. Balance of Nature is simple yet sophisticated. They have 3 products that I'm obsessed with. They have fruit capsules, veggie capsules, and a fiber and spice blend to put into your smoothies or just in water. What I love about these products is you can get all your nutrients in capsules and just in the spice blend. Let me get into what is in the fruit blend. So you take 3 of these a day, and let's say you're like me and you're always on the road and always on the go, but you want to make sure you're getting your nutrients because we know that nature is thy medicine. So we want to take our medicine, we want to be preventative, we want to be healthy. And we're going to pop in the fruit blend. What's in the fruit blend is aloe vera, cherries, lemons, pineapple, apples, cranberries, mangoes, raspberries, bananas, grapes, oranges, strawberries, blueberries, grapefruit, papaya, and tomatoes. All of that is in your fruit blend, okay? So you're getting that. And then in the veggie blend, there's 15 whole vegetables, broccoli, celery, soybeans, spinach, garlic, cabbage, carrots, kale, wheatgrass, yams, onions, cauliflower, cayenne pepper, shiitake mushrooms, and zucchini. So you get that in your veggie blend. And then with the fiber and spice that you can just put 2 scoops in your water or in your smoothies. It has flaxseed, whole apple, allspice, cardamom, cinnamon, clove, coriander, cumin, fennel seed, fenugreek, ginger, mustard, nutmeg, and turmeric. So you're making sure you're getting all your medicine in these 3 products. It's super easy. You can take it on the go. It's clear. It's giving you clear skin. It's giving you the vitality that you need. It's cleaning out your system, your body, your organs, your colon. It's preventative to making sure that you are, you know, keeping your body and your immune system healthy. And it's giving me so much energy. And it really does make me feel optimal and healthy and bringing out the best version of me possible inside and out. So check out Balance of Nature if you want the discount code. It's all caps XOJOJO for a discount. Go check them out. They're one of my favorites. I love them. Super simple, super healthy. And yeah, let's get back to it. I'm reading the book, The Untethered Soul. Have you read that?
I haven't read it.
So it's basically talking about how you are actually the observer of your thoughts and your feelings, and you are not actually your thoughts and your feelings. But if you get deep enough, you're the observer of the thoughts. So the thoughts and the feelings are like clouds. Like certain things will trigger a thought. Like thoughts will just kind of come in because we have an ego and we're experiencing this life, and we have judgment because, you know, we're humans. And then we have, you know, with each thought comes in with a feeling, because a thought promotes a feeling. So, but we have to let them pass as clouds and be the observer of them and not attach and identify as the thought. And And like every things in life are going to trigger us. So like, oh my gosh, they're not texting back quick. So that's like arising insecurities are coming up. Or maybe your mind's like, this is a worst case scenario, so I'm just preparing myself for it. But then as you're doing that, it's not necessarily healthy for us because it's constantly putting us in fight or flight. And like, we just don't know the actual truth of what's going on. But we need to realize the ego wants to keep us safe, but be aware that like, okay, this is just me having expectation of what I want. And if it's not happening, just know everything's going to be okay. Like, this too shall pass. This is not forever. And I don't know what's actually going on. Like, what's supposed to be will be. So it's just kind of like, be the observer of this situation. Be the observer of what thoughts are coming up. Be the observer of what feelings are coming up. And just let them pass like clouds. And a lot of people who meditate talk about this stuff. And it's just not attaching to these things, because when we attach to these things and our breath starts to get short and we start to believe this thought and attach this thought and identify to this thought, then our whole lives are always going to be ruled by these temporary thoughts and feelings that are when we could be more in bliss, where we could find more peace, where we could detach from these things and just observe more and step back and be like, I mean, I believe in God, and just be like, everything's flowing and happening for a reason, It's kind of like faith and fear cannot exist in the same space. So choosing to be like, I have faith that everything is happening for me and I can control how I breathe right now. I can breathe deep into my belly, and I will choose to do that to calm me down, to root me into myself and just observe, and I'm going to be okay.
Yes, there's so many things that you just said that really were things that I came across on my journey. Like, one of the first things that was so helpful was that concept of you are not your thoughts. You are not your thoughts. You are not your feelings. Those are separate from you. So that means nothing about your identity when you get a thought. And so that was the first thing that was so helpful. And then the second thing that you mentioned is kind of detaching. And there's this art of letting go, I think, that is so beneficial. And I think what it really comes down to is trust. Do you trust yourself, and do you trust God or the universe or whatever it is that you have faith in?
Yeah.
Can you let that pan out how it's going to pan out and just allow it?
Yeah.
Because so many times we're just resisting, and that's really what's creating all of this internal just disagreement and anxiety and everything. It's those expectations, exactly what you had said, where we set up this expectation and we basically put a label and a stamp on it where we say, if this doesn't happen or if this thing does happen, it means this bad thing is going to happen. When really, it's like, first of all, I have no idea what's actually going to happen, and it doesn't have to actually mean anything.
Yes.
It can just be a thing that happens, and you can be there for it.
Yeah, because these things life is always going to throw you the most random curveballs and the most random things, and the only consistent thing in life is change. So if we can choose to roll with the changes and switch our perspective instead of always being the victim of attaching to things, attaching to thoughts, attaching to how it's supposed to be. And it's like, if you're looking at a target and the target is your expectation, try to be the observer and look past the target. Look at all these infinite possibilities that it's how other ways this situation could pan out, and it's panning out for you, and either way you're going to learn from it. Either way you're going to grow from it if you choose to look at it like that. But it's like, this isn't going to kill you, and what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So just observe it, and what's supposed to be in your life will be in your life. What's not supposed to be in your life won't be in your life. And it's just like, allow things to come. And my biggest motto for this year is faith, trust, and pixie dust. That's just like my thing right now. And it's just, right now on this planet, we need to learn to let go and let God. We don't have control. We can sit here and try to trick ourselves all we want, but it's holding on to like a toxic, pokey rope. It's only hurting us. So at what point are we going to choose to let go, let God, and breathe deep and breathe easy and start enjoying life and not try to control every little thing? Because you're going to hit a rock bottom. You're going to hit a burnout. Your health's going to go to shit. Like, just let go. Why do we just overthink things, and we overtry, and we try to overanalyze, and analysis is paralysis. And I'm preaching like I've mastered all these things, but like I haven't. But it's just choosing to control how you react to a situation, how you're breathing, and you can control a few things, but just remember these few things that you can control. And a big one for me is breath. Like right now, I could choose to breathe deep and pray to God, or think of 10 gratitudes. You can shift that energy, but you can't shift these curveballs that are coming at you, because these curveballs are supposed to be teaching you and reminders of let go. It's going to be okay.
Yeah, and I think it's so important to recognize what were you saying, or what you were saying about basically being on a journey. Like, we don't all have this thing figured out. Like, I've been in this game for a while now, and I don't have it all figured out. I'm still learning every single day, and I think it's important to recognize that these are skills. These are things that we can practice. Letting go, that is something you can practice in every moment of every single day.
Mm-hmm.
And it is a skill that you build. So as you keep doing it, you get better at it, and you get better at it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you find new ways that maybe you are holding on to something. And it just slowly opens up for you. And there's just more to let go of. There's more to trust. And
Yep.
it's just this amazing process where, I mean, we're all on it. We're all figuring it out. And I don't think anyone's got it fully figured out. But
No.
I think once you understand it, it just starts setting you free. And you get freer and freer and freer. And you just get happier, too.
You do. Like, then you get to a point where not a lot of things can trigger you. But it's noticing when something does trigger you and you do notice yourself wanting to get control. That's when it's like, okay, I'm going to work on this muscle, and I'm going to choose to let go and see what the universe and what God wants to do with it.
Yeah, and just be curious. I mean,
Yeah.
that's one of the most amazing things is before I learned all this stuff, if I had something that triggered me, like, perfect example is that panic attack. Like, that's like as triggering as you can get. Sends you to the moon. You're just filled with anxiety. Now, if I had something like that happen, I have the skills now where I could step back and I could just observe it and watch it. And instead of being taken up in it and letting it run with me, I can basically take a step back and say, okay, what's actually happening here? And I can just watch my body do its thing. And if I pull myself out of whatever's fueling it, so usually that's ruminating and thinking and
Yep.
spinning your wheels.
Yeah.
If you can pull yourself out of that, your body just naturally comes back down. And I think there's an interesting point there, because a lot of times people, they'll come to me, especially for coaching and things for anxiety, and they're like, how do I get rid of anxiety? How do I get rid of these intrusive thoughts? And the first thing I tell them is, if that's their one goal, then they're likely going to end up with more of those things. And that's what's so interesting is getting rid of anxiety isn't so much about getting rid of anxiety as it is that letting go process and engaging in the life that you want to live despite what's going on.
Yes.
Right? And so, like, mental health is more about building and creating the life you want than getting rid of uncomfortable feelings and uncomfortable thoughts.
Hey, you guys, let's just take a quick break to talk about my saving grace and sponsor, Raw Elements. I love Raw Elements because all their ingredients are organic and natural. All their packaging is recycled material, and they're all about saving the turtles. What they are is they provide sunscreen for your skin and really hydrating products so your skin is hydrated. Knowing that my skin is the biggest organ on the body and of the body and is absorbing everything that is put on it, I love knowing that the ingredients that I'm putting on are natural and from the earth, and they are conscious in how they are making their products. I love them. Check them out. Raw Elements. If you want a groovy discount, put in the code XOJOJO. And yeah, for the winter seasons, my lips are getting really chapped, and in their chapstick they have all the yummiest essential oils, and it super hydrates my lips. It smells good. The packaging is cute. I freaking love them. Check them out. Raw Elements. Thank you so much. Let's get back into it. Because you can't get rid of that.
You can't.
It's like you can't expect always sunny days. You're lying to yourself. You're kidding to yourself. Like, there's no way. You have to have the storms, and the storms are going to come. The clouds are going to come. Let the clouds come. Let the clouds pass. But there's sun's there too. Like, that's always going to be life. So you can choose as a tree to enjoy the storms and the sun, and choose to just let it pass and detach from that, and choose to stay in your own lane, focus on your goals, focus on your breath, focus on what makes you happy, focus on the good people in your life, focus on your passions, and be like a kid. Be curious. Be curious of, like, oh, okay, like, my chest is getting tight. Like, I'm biting my nails. I'm obviously anxious. Why am I feeling this way? And I think it helps a lot when you get in tune with your emotions of, okay, why am I feeling like this? Like, why is my little 6-year-old kid not feeling safe? And just feel it. Like, just feel it and maybe start journaling about it or just being aware of it. And I think once we can start to do that and not play the victim of like, and don't feed the animal, like, oh my gosh, like, it's a cloud, feel the feelings and be aware of like what's not feeling good for you right now. And can you change this? If you can, great, change the situation, change the circumstances, avoid the person, avoid the place, like whatever it is, but don't feed the fire of going with it and thinking it's going to last forever, because it's not. The cloud's always moving. Everything's always moving. Everything's always shifting. So don't attach to that cloud. It's like there's this video of this little kid and he's like freaking out in the water and he's like, oh my gosh. And then everyone's laughing at him because he finally realizes that he's in super shallow water and he could have just stood up the whole time. It's almost like that's what we're doing when we're just getting in our head about it. And that's what thoughts do. Thoughts can make you think you're in this like deep ocean that's so scary, but really you're in the shallow waters.
So yeah,
Sorry, guys.
I really like what you said about basically how kids act, kind of a thing.
Be a kid. Be a kid.
Also, I think we might have more sound coming up. Just a heads up. So yeah, it's really interesting because at the place that I work for a company called Blue Novus, and we're super geared towards mental health. And one of the things that we do is we actually do coaching with our co-founder. And there are a couple things that we've talked about just recently that have lined up so well with what you were just saying. And so the first is, I think our default stage is basically we're like a pond. We're like this calm pond. And basically what happens is a thought comes, so that's almost like a fish jumps, right? And you get these ripples that come out.
Yeah.
And so many times we get these ripples, like especially if it's an uncomfortable thought, and we want to stop the ripples.
Yeah.
And so what we do is we start thinking about it. And when we're thinking about it and trying to solve those ripples, a lot of times it's like we're just throwing more rocks into the pond.
Yeah.
We're like, stop those ripples, stop it. We're just tossing them at them. And all it's doing is making it so much worse. Whereas if we could step back and just be present with all of it, the pond just gets smooth again. And that's just what it does. And so I think so much of it is recognizing that and practicing that ability to just like step back, be the observer, go back to being, that kid who is just present.
I'm about to get kind of deep, but Jordan Peterson always talks about how we're our own worst enemy, how we're the villain and the hero of our story. So we're on the planet, we're our main character, and we're creating our film, right? We're creating this movie. And it's like, yeah, you could make the ripples worse, and that's you being the villain. Like, that's you creating your own hell. Or you could be the hero, and you could choose to just let the fish jump, see the ripples, watch it, observe it, feel the uncomfortableness, and then sunshine's just around the corner or after the cloud passes, and you become your hero. You become your hero when you start to let go and trust God and trust that everything is going to be better after, because everything's contrast. After something bad, just as far as something bad happens, it's going to pendulum just as far as something good is going to happen. Like, this is constantly happening. The waves are going to go out and they're going to come in. Like, that's just life. So if you can just choose to observe the waves of the good and the bad and the light and the dark, then you can choose to have more peace and happiness in your life, even within the darkness, right? And sometimes you are really feeling in the darkness and it really does suck, but this too shall pass. Like, it will never exist the same way always. It's just not energetically possible. So trust that and learn from it, like talk to someone about it, write in your journal about it, like feel these emotions like a little kid and don't suppress it. Don't feed the fire that you're creating in your mind. Like challenge your mind, challenge your thoughts, and know that just because you're thinking it, it's not true. Maybe it's just your ego thinking like worst case scenario, and then you start to believe it, and then turns out the opposite thing happens. You're like, man, I freaking aged myself 5 years for no reason.
Yeah. we put ourselves through a lot of hell. That's for sure. We really do. And so much of it is our own perspective on things, our own striving to change what doesn't need to be changed and what is natural. I mean, it's so important to recognize that we're human. And humans have these experiences. And I think a lot of times we get this expectation where we want to be happy all the time, which happiness is a good thing. Something, worth striving for in one way or another. But I almost want to reel that back and take away the word striving. Because I feel like the more that we really strive for happiness, it's almost like the less happy we become.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've read Man's Search for Meaning.
I almost finished it, but I haven't, but it's good.
One of my favorite books. So in it, he talks about how happiness isn't something that you actually strive for. It's more of like a byproduct of the way that you're living your life. And when you're living your life in a way that's creating meaning and you're building this life around the things that you care about, it just naturally comes. Mm-hmm. If you try to force happiness, it's like trying to force emotions to go away. It's like trying to force thoughts out of your head. Mm-hmm. And all it does is actually chase that away.
It's such a paradox. It's like the more you want something, the more you're pushing it away like a magnet.
It's bizarre.
And then as soon as you let go and you just detach and you just allow, boom, what's supposed to come will come.
Yep.
Oh, okay. I can connect this to the story. So I was in Thailand and I went to the loo and I was trying to open this door, and it was like an old school door where it's wooden and you have the latch and you have to push it in. And it wouldn't unlatch, and my ego and I like to think of myself as a strong woman. I'm like, it won't freaking open, and I was feeling like such an idiot. I couldn't get out of this freaking bathroom, and I'm like, okay, take a deep breath, let it go, and I just, and it just came right open. So it's like sometimes the more you try, the less you see the results, and the more you're actually pushing it away, and the more you're just going to get uptight about it, and the more you're going to get frustrated. But if you just, take a deep breath and just ease into it and just allow it to just do its thing, then it will just it moves on faster, and what you really want will come faster. So it's like, don't try so hard. Don't push so hard. We don't need to. We don't even need to exert that energy as much as we think we do. Our egos are so funny.
It's so weird. And I'm right now I'm thinking about like just in my head I'm trying to kind of play with the idea of okay, where and how do we strive for the things that we want, and where do we kind of draw that line? And I think the line gets drawn, at least in terms of keeping ourselves mentally healthy, is where's our control? And are we forcing something? And I think as long as we're able to recognize that, our boundary of control is here or here or here in whatever given situation, and we're not crossing that boundary, or at least trying to cross the boundary, because you can't actually cross the boundary and control the uncontrollable. That's what's going to keep us healthy, is recognizing that. And it's kind of amazing, because then you're putting forth energy without expectation. And that's when you really free yourself up. It's like I'm heading in this direction, and I'm not trying to control everything at the same time. It's like I'm putting my energy into what's meaningful to me, and I'm just going to see what happens. I have zero expectations about what's going to come around the bend for me.
Yes.
And that's when all of a sudden life just gets good, because you're like, I don't know, and there's something amazing about not knowing.
Yes. Little kids are not caring to know what's going to happen for lunch or dinner even, or the next day. And I think as adults we try to, because society kind of pushes it on us of you got to do this. There's a lot of pressure on us. But if we can actually, remember how the little kid is. I love being around little kids because they are literally just so free. They're not worried. They're just having fun, and they've totally surrendered. They've totally just let go, and they're just so present. Like animals. I watch my dog and I'm like, the dude just has no expectation. And I always say expectation is what killed the cat. And I am so guilty of this. I love control. I love the feeling of control. And I find myself in the past, and I'm just being aware of it, that I don't want to manipulate a situation because I want to get the outcome that I want, because I don't know what's best for me. I need to give that to God, and I need to just trust and just do my best and be my best and breathe as deep as I can and do things that bring me joy, and know that if something doesn't bring me joy, you know, that's life, and I'm going to choose to stay in my own lane and keep focusing on what I can focus on, and be a little kid. Like, you can choose to have fun anywhere. You can choose to embrace that little kid right now if you want.
And I think it's natural. I think that's the thing, too, that we forget is we all have that natural kid within us if we can just get present. I mean, we're so trained and conditioned to thinking about the future and planning and
Yep.
worrying and trying to figure out how things are going to pan out, that we're not here.
Yeah.
And when we come back to here, it sets us up to experience that fun and experience the joys that are in each moment.
Mm-hmm. And, you know, you can find the middle way of doing that is write down the key points that you do want to achieve. Like, write down what you really do want in the most simple form, but then flow in between of like, okay, 3 goals today. I want to get this done, this done, this done, but be flexible about it. Like, be like the bamboo where you're firm in what you want, but be flexible and go with the wind of how you're going to achieve that, and have fun and flow into that. You know, like, we don't have to completely be like hippie, you know, like no goals or whatever, but it's just that balance of like, okay, this is what I want in my life, and I'm going to have fun getting it, you know?
Exactly.
And write it down. If you're not expressing what's in your brain and your worries and your fears and your goals and what you want and what you, write it down, and then you'll feel so much better. It's the fact that you've acknowledged these thoughts and these fears, and then you flow after. You just need to let it out. Don't suppress it. I think writing things down actually helps a lot. It's just a way of releasing and not holding it all in, you know?
Yep. And there are really so many paradoxes with all this. It's
Yeah.
kind of hard to navigate all of it when you're getting into it, because it can get easy to feel like, okay, so I just need to be like mega chill, never
Yeah.
do anything, and
Yeah,
just
yeah.
like let life happen. But
Yeah.
no, that's not the case. Like obviously there's going to be a time to plan.
Yeah.
But it's like, especially when it comes to anxiety, like so many people who struggle with anxiety are planning 100% of the day. Like, they're in their heads figuring out the future.
Yeah.
And so for them, it's like, okay, if obviously, yeah, you want to have a plan, you want to figure out what you're doing, with your week or your day, but set aside a time to do that. Like you said, like, pull out a journal and have a time during the day where you do that, and you dedicate that time to that. And then you have your plan, and then while you're actually going throughout the rest of your day, you are not worrying about that. You are just following through with basically whatever it was that you previously decided, and you're living in the moment.
I love that. And little kids love structure too. Like, when we have a routine and we have a routine of wake up, drink water, eat a healthy breakfast, meditate, pray, and journal. Okay, I've done these things for me, for my own good. And now while I'm hitting these goals or what I need to do in the day, that's where you have fun. But like, structure in the beginning of the day, at the end of the day, like a little kid. Like, okay, go brush your teeth, like, do these things that you need to do, but have fun in between. And like, take a different road to work. Try a different place to eat. Try a different, just try different things. Like, little kids, like, don't get stuck in rigid and oldness. Like, keep things fun, keep things new, keep things fresh, try new things, stay curious, stay curious, stay curious, stay curious about everything. And curiosity is the opposite of detaching, because you should be curious about the unknowns. And once you are curious about the unknowns and you have no expectation, that's when life becomes fun. Because if you know everything, that's not fun. Oh, I'm going to unwrap this present, all these presents that I got for my birthday, even though I already know what's in them.
It's so true. And like, that's just like sank in with me. But yeah, like, having that curiosity and that openness is so huge. So yeah, I think that's amazing. And there's so much to it and so little to it at the same time. Like, it's so simple, but it's so hard to remember. It's so hard to be continually putting these things into practice.
Yeah, it is. For me, what helps me is I have a picture of myself as a little girl, like in my studio, on my mirror. You can even put it on your phone wallpaper. But when I see like little JoJo just looking back at me, I remember her, and she comes out of me when I see her. And so it's just like those little reminders of just seeing yourself as a kid. We are adult kids. We don't need to get older and have a stick in our ass and become rigid and become sick and ill and just like, that's not really a life. Like, move your body, go on a walk, like go play at the park, go swing, go watch the sunset. Like, enjoy life, enjoy feeling uncomfortable. And when you're actually curious about the uncomfortable is trippy. Like when you're actually in the middle of an anxiety attack and you're like, whoa, the fact that my chest can squeeze that tight, and the fact that I can hear my heartbeat so like bluntly, and the fact that like my vision is changing, like, whoa, you could actually turn it into like a cool trippy thing. Instead of being like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's like, can you step back from it and just back to that curiosity? Like,
yeah.
Like, that's what it is. Like, can you be curious? Can
Yeah.
you let it happen and experience it for what it is instead of trying to change it?
And don't label it. Can we talk about labels for a minute? I feel
Yeah.
like you've talked about that on your Instagram, and I love all your posts. By the way, you guys need to go look at his post. But let's talk about labels. Like, don't put a label on yourself. I'm always saying, as soon as I put a label on me, it makes me want to like break out of it instantly. It's almost like putting yourself in a box, and a word is such a small, tiny way to explain what is actually going on, and what's actually going on is so complex that not even a word can explain it. It's just a feeling, And so we don't need to be like, I suffer from anxiety, I have depression. Like, don't keep reminding yourself and putting that label over yourself. Like, just feel what it is and choose to feel it, embrace it, but you don't have to attach an identity to it.
Yeah, and I think a huge part of that is don't let whatever that label is set a boundary for your progress, kind of a thing. I think so many people inadvertently do that. It's like, and I remember experiencing that when I was first on this journey with anxiety and everything. I was going to therapists, and I had several therapists say, you know what, like, this is just kind of your new reality, and you're probably gonna have to take life slowly. You should be careful about how much school you try to bite off. Pick a career that isn't super demanding. And I'm like, okay, this doesn't sit well with me. Like, I don't agree with that. And really, it was just like, okay, this is what you have. And if I had bought into that and bought into that barrier, it would have impacted me so much. Like, I would not be where I am today. And especially coming from professionals, and obviously, like, labels do have their place. Like, I think it is helpful to recognize, like, once you finally realize what you're experiencing is anxiety or obsessive compulsive disorder or depression, you can be like, oh my gosh, I'm not alone. There are other people, there's actually like kind of a formula for what this is. But the second you start using that to box in your own recovery, that's where I have a problem with it. It's like, you can associate with it. Sure. It's like, you experience this, but don't make it you. Like, I don't agree with saying I have anxiety. It's almost like saying I am anxiety.
Yeah.
And it's like,
it's bringing you back to the present moment when maybe you aren't even experiencing it right now, but you just put that on you.
Mm-hmm. And it's like, I experience anxiety.
Yeah.
Everyone experiences anxiety.
Yeah.
And as I change my relationship with anxiety, things just get better and better. And as I'm able to more fully recognize that, okay, anxiety is actually a normal emotion for people to feel, and I embrace it, I actually feel it way less than I did when I was really, really struggling.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I was put in this situation where I was in this situation where I didn't know what was going to happen with this certain human. And I was just, my ego wanted this certain outcome so bad. And when the opposite thought came into my head, I would push it away. I would push it away because I didn't even want to go there. I don't want to go there. But then as soon as I surrendered to what the opposite outcome could be of something, it was the opposite of what I wanted to happen. And as soon as I looked at it and was like, okay, this is a possibility. This could happen. But then what? Well, I'm going to be okay. Like, life's going to move on, and I'm going to be okay. Like, life's happening for me. And as soon as I surrendered to the worst case scenario, then I felt immediate peace. And I was just like, okay, I'm giving it to God. But I can't believe that professionals were telling you you're going to be in this forever. Like, that must have been actually really scary, because I'm kind of a hypochondriac. And so if I had professionals telling me that, that would be a dark place for me.
Yeah, I mean, it was rough. And that was really my experience for probably the first couple of years when I started trying to get help. And that was where, like, especially once I started finding out this other side where it's like, oh, recovery is possible, which that also came with the help of professionals, some who, like, really knew their stuff in terms of anxiety and OCD. And I just realized, like, okay, there is a big population, even of professionals, who have a very boxed in view of this. And it's almost like they're still stuck in the mode of like if you went to the doctor with a broken leg and the doctor said, oh, looks like you have a broken leg, you're probably experiencing a lot of pain, let's give you painkillers. That's how we're going to solve this. And I feel like there are a lot of therapists who are still in that mode where it's like, let's just fix the symptom. Let's fix the anxiety.
Yeah.
Right? Let's give you meds. Let's give you some, like breathing techniques. And there's nothing against those things. Like meditation and stuff is all great.
Yeah.
And, but thing is, if you're only doing things to fix the anxiety, to get rid of it, like you're really boxing yourself in. Whereas if you get to that next level of, okay, I'm accepting these things, and instead of putting my time and energy into trying to fix this mental illness, I'm actually putting my time and energy into the stuff I actually care about, that's really where a shift takes place.
So you're saying instead of trying to fix you're not fixing the core of the problem. You're not fixing the root of the problem. You're just like trimming the branches, but you're not getting to the core. And unless you get to the core, then you're not going to see true transformation, and you're always going to be a victim of this thing. And that's what I'm really into holistic healing. And holistic healing is really getting to the root of it. What is the root cause of this? I don't want to cover up what you're feeling right now and it's only going to be temporary. Like, I really want to get to the root of it. And that typically takes a lifestyle change and more mindfulness, right? It's being mindful of, like you said, I really need to change my life and make sure I'm in alignment. And am I in alignment with my job? Do I like what I'm doing? Am I eating healthy things that are propelling me to have more energy and to feed my body with nutrients? Like, am I hanging out with people that have the same vision of me and who love progress? Like, look at your life differently to really heal some root problems,
Yeah, and if you can go beneath those surface level symptoms and get to the patterns, I mean, that's usually where the root is. It's like, what is your internal relationship with anxiety, with your thoughts, with your feelings?
Yeah.
And like I said before, like, I'm by no means am I against like anything like therapy. Like, I'm so down for therapy, so down. Like if meds help, take meds. Do what you got to do to help yourself out, but use those as things that just help you get back to the life that you want to live.
Stepping stones.
And don't make those like the cure all things, because I mean, so many studies have been done with cognitive behavioral therapy and the use of meds, and it's so interesting because like meds alone a lot of times don't do a lot, but when you combine them with the proper therapy and with lifestyle changes, that's where people really start to see progress. And eventually it's so interesting because it becomes a lot like physical health, in the sense that basically we can manage our responses to how we're experiencing life, right? I think with physical health, I love the example of like, if you're not a runner and you want to be a runner, you have to put in the work to get there, right? And if you're like sabotaging yourself trying to get there, like going down the road of like, I don't know, binge watching TV and eating tons of snacks when you're trying to train to become this runner, you're never going to get there. And with mental health, I think we get sometimes a weird view of what mental fitness is, and we think it's about not experiencing uncomfortable emotions. With mental fitness, it's like, how well can you experience these things? How well can you be present with those emotions that you're feeling? Can you actually let yourself have these uncomfortable emotions? It's not about not experiencing them.
Right.
It's about allowing it. And that's where you really build up your mental strength, is in your ability to just like eat up whatever is coming your way and be down for it.
Oh, that's brilliant. It's like, be like an athlete, but in the mental way. Because as an athlete, you're going to have to train hard. You're going to feel uncomfortable. You don't want to do bleachers. You don't want to do all these conditioning things, but you do it every day, all the time, because you want to be the best athlete possible. You want to do life the best way possible. You want to be the best you possible. And in a way, we're all our own athletes. Like, life is hard. Life is, you know, it's a long run. So you might as well be enjoying it and strengthening yourself mentally, physically, and spiritually. So it really is like a lifestyle change. And working on that mental muscle, I think a lot of us forget that. I'm starting to read more books and just play more chess and work on my mental game. And it's so important. It's everything. Our minds, we're going to sleep with them. You can't run from it. Like, it's always with you.
Yeah. Well, and it's so interesting to me, the the parallels that you can draw between the physical realm and then the mental realm as well. Because can you imagine if you like first started to work out and like you go to that first workout and you just have an awful time, like you're sweating like crazy. It's so hard to do all the stuff that you're trying to do. And then you went to the doctor and you're like, look, I don't think exercise is for me. Like, this is really hard. Like, that was not comfortable. I was super sweaty. It was disgusting.
Yeah.
I'm not down for that. And that's how getting better with mental health is too. It is so messy. It's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And that's what it's about. It's about diving headfirst into that and recognizing that, you know, it's okay. And you know, for me, one of the ways that I do practice is actually through meditation. I don't use meditation to get rid of anxiety. If anything, meditation and mindfulness helps you experience more anxiety because you're